The New York Times has a very interesting article here. Now, it's titled "Net Neutrality is Trump's Next Target." The New York Times reports the Trump administration has served notice on Thursday that its next move to deregulate broadband internet service companies will be to jettison the Obama administration's net neutrality rules, which were intended to safeguard free expression online. The net neutrality rules, approved by Federal Communications Commission in 2015, aim to preserve the open internet and ensure that it will not be divided into pay-to-play fast lanes for web and media companies that can afford it and slow lanes for everyone else. So basically, what this is explaining is that during the Obama era, under Tom Wheeler, the former chair of the FCC, the net neutrality was a proposition that was made in order to prevent corporations from discriminating against other corporations, in the sense of, like, for example, let's say Go90, who is owned by Verizon, is a content provider, and Netflix, who is also using the backhaul for Verizon to transport data to its customers. And what if Verizon one day decided, well, since we own Go90, it is in our best interest, as since they're a content provider and Netflix is a content provider, we're going to go ahead and throttle the speeds on Netflix to where we're going to create an incentive to where they're going to either want to pay more into us, or we're just going to not necessarily ask them to pay more, but we're just going to bleed them dry to where we're going to create the perception that the quality of service is pretty much shit. This is one of the examples of what net neutrality is supposed to be able to protect against. Um, so now, the new FCC chairman, Ajit Pai, and I swear I totally feel like I'm fucking up that dude's name every single time. But it's not a secret that this guy actually has, for quite some time, has actually been against net neutrality. And and the Trump administration is trying to make a move in order to retract these regulations for the benefit of these telecoms, because they don't want to be operated like the utility company. And if you didn't think that's not only thing that's on the news. There's another matter that we also have to get to. Also in the article, getting rid of net neutrality rules, policy experts said, will be more difficult than peeling away the privacy regulations. Congress, in a vote mainly across party lines and by a narrow margin, overturned privacy rules enacted last fall using a streamlined process under the Congressional Review Act. So what this is talking about is internet privacy protections. So what pretty much across party lines, literally all the Republicans and all the Republicans had voted to revoke the Obama era protections, where it prevented a ISP from selling customer data. And all the Democrats voted against it. So it was a party line vote, all across the board. And what this basically means is that virtually, if there's no internalized process as far as the ISP, so like for example, Comcast or Verizon, Time Warner, if they decide that they want to sell your data, then they have the right to do that, and there's nothing in the sense of like regulations that is going to stop them from doing that. And so there was a poll actually that was done a little bit while ago about this, and as far as the constituents is concerned, only 6% of people supported the idea of having their personal data sold. So you, everybody pretty much knows, or at least I hope everybody knows, is that Trump usually will make a big impression about whenever he's signing a bill. So he would always just have it broadcast where he's just like, sign away the bill for, I don't know, Dakota Access Pipeline or whatever, jobs, more jobs, just giving out jobs all over the place. But in this particular case, where it was voted across party lines, and not Obama, Trump had the means to be able to block it. He decided to sign it, and he literally said nothing at all. So this whole situation was just pretty much hush hush. Nobody really knew about it, and everybody just kind of up in arms about it. And you may have actually seen a bunch of articles going around about using VPN services in order to counteract this new change. But you really shouldn't need to do that. So the counterpoints that some people make when it comes to this retraction of the internet privacy protections is that they would say that, well, you have the freedom of choice to be able to move over to another ISP, just kind of like like a Facebook or a Google Plus. But the counter the argument to that is you don't actually have the choice that you're trying to make it out to be. Like for example, in my area, we have two ISPs, but depending upon which part of town you're in or where you live, you may actually only have access to one, like literally one, even though there's two in this city. For my particular case where I live, I can only use one, and it's not because I just choose not to. I literally cannot. They don't provide it here, so that's a bullshit argument. Like the argument of choice would be a little bit more um, would be feasible if we were talking about if there were like maybe 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 ISPs or something like that. But in my particular area, I can literally only use one, even though we have two. So that's bullshit. That whole choice angle is bullshit. And then Mitch McConnell had the nerve to come out and say that it stifles innovation. But there's absolutely nothing that directly ties internet privacy protections and innovation together. That I don't see how in your mind you could actually even say something like that. It's just a bullshit platitude, because even if you were to make that argument that it stifles innovation, innovation in what regard? In making money? In making money, because once that company sells your data, how do you know that the next company that sells your data isn't just going to do the same thing and just keep selling your data over and over and over again, and to the extent of where there's some kind of a leak that happens and your data gets out of there, and now you're looking around looking stupid, like, well, shit, like somebody just did identity theft on me because my ISP decided that they just wanted to sell my information to just some off the wall company that has some shitty security provisions. So so even if Mitch McConnell was to make that case that it stifles innovation, he has no way to actually tell how will your data be safely secure with them selling your data. It's just it slaps in the face of just civil liberties. It's just people can do whatever the fuck they want with your data, and that's bullshit. So the part of the reason why I brought this up was there was a discussion that I had on Facebook, which it's just, all right, guys, I'll just post it in the comments below. But that there was a quote that was made by Bernie Sanders, and he was referencing this article. So a person, I'm not gonna say what that person's name is. You can just read the comments for yourself, and y'all can direct message me or however y'all want to do it. It's a public post, and the the person who was commenting on it was going after Bernie Sanders uh, because in his mind, people like to throw out these labels: communist, socialist, even though I don't think necessarily they know what those terms actually mean. And then they went to the angle of talking about income inequality and economy, which those they have absolutely nothing to do. FCC regulations and income inequality and economy have absolutely nothing to do with another. I can see the angle of income inequality and the economy having to do with one another. That makes sense. But the conversation was just so very weird of how you went from trying to attack the idea of net neutrality and trying to bring up the economy and income inequality, and even trying to go after Bernie Sanders is for being a socialist slash commie, even though he's not a fucking communist. It's fucking stupid. He's a democratic socialist. But the point that I want to make here is that for people who want to get involved in the politics, you have to understand that there are going to be some times where you're going to be involved with, once you make a public statement, you're going to also have people who have counterpoints to those statements as well. And sometimes those situations are going to be so involved to where you're going to have to get into a civil discourse where you're going to have to be able to explain yourself and be able to make some counterpoints to what they're saying. This is what's going to happen in politics. And sometimes, I've been in some situations where some things have gotten heated, but I've never actually terminated a relationship because of that. I think that's fucking stupid. I mean, there are situations of where there are facts, and then there's a difference of opinion when we talk about the political scene. So in his particular case, he decided that after he he basically brought up a bunch of regurgitated talking points, or Republican talking points that I generally just I heard literally every one of them, from Bill O'Reilly to Tommy Lauren. I've heard all these regurgitated talking points, and that's all they are talking points. They don't really so much explain much in the sense of substance. Um, if we want to have a conversation, then need to have a conversation. But we can't just be talking to one another or just get into the shouting match with one another of just and we're just both acting like a bunch of ideologues. We have to actually have a discussion to figure out what's the problem and how can we come to a solution. So if in your particular case, if you're getting involved in politics and you're going up to somebody, so let's say for example we're talking about the general election, and you were going out of your way to bring some more people under your party to bring about some more constituents. You would there would of course be some people who are apolitical or who are independent who are probably out there, and you have to throw a bone to and get them on your side. But and the same thing would also be for the Democrats as well. Republicans and Democrats, Green Party, um, they would all have to throw a bone to these people to get them on their side. Now that also isn't just for those people who are apolitical or independent. That also includes people in other parties. In order for you to grow a party, you have to be able to engage in discussions with people outside of your own party, because you have to grow as a party to be able to maintain relevance. So if you're going to get into these conversations, and then as soon as you get a little pushback, all of a sudden you give up and you say, well, fuck it, I'm gonna just not talk to the motherfucker anymore. Then you're probably not going to really get too far in politics. I mean, you're gonna encounter blowback, or or in a particular case, you may have to just strictly speaking go after people who are apolitical or who maybe independent. Probably not independent, maybe more apolitical tip, or people who are just pretty much neutral on the spectrum. Because if you're gonna go after people of opposing parties with these ideas, and you're not going to be prepared to fight for them, then that your sense of conviction is very low, and you should probably just stay out of politics, just period.